Blamo here. Chances are you just heard of Open Fortress through Tyler McVicker of Valve's news network. Or perhaps you're some sort of time traveler from the not-so-distant future, where the first public version of the mod was just released. With that in mind, it is very likely that you tried out its most popular game mode, Deathmatch, and you have no idea what's going on, or why you're getting stomped. Or maybe you just want to improve your performance. Well, regardless, that is why I'm here to help, bringing you 10 tips that you should use as a beginner. Deathmatch is heavily derived from arena shooters of old, which are notorious for being difficult to pick up. And Open Fortress is no different thanks to its sheer speed and its assortment of new mechanics. Despite that, I would say that Open Fortress is a great option for getting into arena shooters, as the format has been deliberately simplified in places in order to attract newcomers, all while not compromising the skill ceiling. Now, I'm no arena shooter expert, nor would I consider myself good. Despite that, I still feel as if the following tips should help you from staying at the bottom of the scoreboard, and to keep you from getting overwhelmed. Some of these tips can even be utilized in other arena shooters, such as Quick or Diabolical. So let's get started. Before you hop on in a public match, make sure you go through your options first. If you want to customize your experience, you can choose to use centered view models, use bright skins, and more. Seeing how this is a TF2 mod, most settings and commands that many of you are already using in that game will work here. Though, I should point out that some user-friendly settings, such as raw mouse input, should be enabled by default. Need help with memorizing maps? You can load up a private match of your own. You can open up the console and type in map, and then whatever map you want to load. Keep in mind that deathmatch maps have the DM_ prefix. Regardless of whether you're offline or not, you'll always be wanting to study your environment in order to get a better sense of where items are, what vantage points to take, and where combat takes place. This first step is crucial in the world of arena FPS. Open Fortress also has bots. Simply type in tf_bot_quota and then whatever number of bots you want. You can also set bot difficulty through tf_bot_difficulty and then input your desired difficulty set as a number value. A fair bit of warning though. The bots here are not very good. They're better than nothing, I suppose. Arena shooters are perhaps most famous for their movement. Now, luckily for you, Open Fortress has streamlined movement to where it is very easy to pick up in the form of auto-hopping. As you start walking, what you want to do is jump as you let go of W. You then hold down the spacebar or whatever bind you're using. You don't even have to time your jumps. And airstrafe, just like you would when rocket jumping. You can practically start hopping anytime and your speed will begin to build up very quickly. Want to go even faster? Fit a blast jump in there. If you're unfamiliar with airstrafing in the source engine, I linked a detailed video on the subject down in the description. Oh, and always try to move, as standing still will tend to lead to your death. When in an engagement, it is important to learn how to dodge damage, rather than just taking the hits. And no, the railgun and lightning gun aren't overpowered. Just be sure to strafe in order to avoid damage, or in the case of railgun users, try to close the distance between you and them in order to maximize the railgun's weakness at closer ranges. At the same time, however, try not to jump in fights as that will make you an easier target to hit due to your predictable path, but don't walk in a straight line either, and get out of your way to use height advantages too. Like TF2, you can make use of pickups ranging from health to ammo located throughout the map, and each of these pickups respawn at their own rates. What's new in this mod, however, are the appearances of weapons, mega health, and even power-ups. An important skill to practice in arena shooters is a concept called map control. Essentially, what you're doing is cycling an item like this. You pick up an item, navigate the map for the majority of its respawn time, and you'll want to time it so you arrive at the item location right as it is about to spawn. You then pick this item up again, and the cycle begins anew. Ideally, you want to control multiple items at a time, but new players tend to stick to one major item when first learning this skill. As of now, there is no set timer by default, so you'll have to mentally keep track of a certain item's spawn rate. The general rule of thumb is that power-ups have a typical spawn rate of 1 minute on most maps, and power-ups usually last for about 30 seconds, so by the time your power-up runs out, it is very likely that the same power-up is halfway done spawning. Across all maps, health kits including pills and excluding mega health have a spawn rate of 10 seconds, and the same thing applies to weapons as well. Keep in mind that things won't always go in your favor, and there will be times where enemies will gain control of an item from you after leaving it. Unless you're absolutely sure that you can take that fight, it is better to just leave and start controlling another item instead before regaining control of that first item. In most deathmatch modes, it is essential to know when and when not to engage. Usually this will depend on independent scenarios, but generally, you'll want to stack up on good weapons and health before you start picking fights. Unlike in most arena shooters, you usually won't be looking to stock up on armor. Health and overheal will usually be enough, so get greedy with those pills. You'll also be wanting to predict enemy health, and be sure to take note of whether an enemy is already engaged, what weapons they have, where you're approaching from, etc. If you played a decent amount of Scout before, you should have a basic idea on how to pick fights. And remember, you don't have to commit all the time. Just because someone is on your screen, you don't have to roll a die to see if you're going to win an engagement or not. In many cases, your life is more important than missing out on a potential frag. In Team Deathmatch, I'd recommend that you stay with your teammates if you aren't confident in your own DM skills. You wouldn't want to give the enemy a free point now, would you? In most modes, you'll be needing to manage a large inventory of weapons, like, really large. Unfortunately, with the amount of weapons that maps tend to have, you can't easily assign a convenient bind to every weapon. What you can do, however, is to assign binds to more important weapons. Binds like your E and R keys are great, as they're close to your WASD keys. I'll keep this brief, as I feel that I would be better off covering weapons another time potentially. Each of these weapons has a clear and distinct role that they fulfill, so I wouldn't worry about the sheer amount of them, as using these weapons should become second nature to you. Well, most of them anyway. These guns will also come pre-packaged with their own aiming styles, so it's nice to know how to aim each of them. The weapons you'll be most likely using consist of what the Quake community would call the Holy Trinity, being made up of the rocket launcher, lightning gun, and my personal favorite, the railgun. These weapons are your bread and butter, so learn to use them. There are other weapons that you should pay attention to as well. The nail gun and assault rifle are great at keeping enemies at bay, with the assault rifle being a solid long-range option overall, but weaker at closer ranges. Weapons like the shotgun or Tommy gun are great as close-range finishers, and let's not forget about the super weapons. You really want to make sure that you're controlling these holy grails of firepower. This is more of a technical tip, but if you notice that you can't join a server, chances are that you haven't updated your game. Most servers have an auto-update script that activates whether an update is pushed out. If you're on the Open Fortress Discord server, check if there has been an update of any sort. If you're using SVN, you can simply right-click in your mod folder and then click Update. And there you go! Hopefully you should gain more of a basic idea on how Deathmatch is structured. I still may create more informational videos on this mod in the future. Oh, and one more thing. If you like what you've been seeing thus far, be sure to stick around for more updates on this mod among others, and try to help ease newer players into this mod if you can, as in my honest opinion, if no one is playing these community projects such as this one, then at that point these mods will never get anywhere, and no one will have a reason to make them.